Katie, have you ever done like a digital detox?
Definitely a digital detox. I was actually just recently on vacation for about 10 days, and I really challenged myself to not be online and check in with my team. And, as the owner of the company, it's hard to really step back. But it was actually a really good thing because it really cleared my head a lot and gave me a lot of fresh perspectives and new ideas. It's a really difficult thing to do, especially now when we're all stuck at home and have nothing else to do. What about you, Kerry?
Nope.
Nope. Well, then in that case, I think it's time to punch out. On this episode of Punch Out with Katie and Kerry, we are talking with Ekaterina Walter. She is a marketing innovator, best-selling author, and international speaker. Welcome. Thank you for talking with us today. And tell us about one of your hobbies being detox.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kerry and Katie. I have my hobbies. I have a number of them. They fall into different categories. The one that I call detoxing is, for me, camping does that. So going out camping or hiking, really connecting with the nature, and getting quiet time and getting in a space where you allow yourself to pause and reflect. Think about sort of what you're grateful for in life, listen to music. And sometimes, interestingly enough, those are the times that allow you to strategize better, become better strategists, because when you pause and you think about it, your ideas just come at you just randomly. And so I use the time for both, just leaving everything behind and taking a minute and just pausing. And also maybe doing a quick strategic brainstorming and, ideation. So to me, detoxing does those two things. And in the best scenario environment for me to do so is when I'm out in the nature. So camping or hiking, that's my favorite.
Well, I know you live in Portland, Oregon, too. And so you must have really, really nice camping and hiking in nature. Like, it's one of the more picturesque places in America to do that.
Not like Boston, Katie?
There's some really nice places in Massachusetts, maybe not Boston proper for hiking. But I've always been drawn towards that area. I've never been, but I feel like I would fit right in Portland, Oregon with all of, the trees and the woods and camping. So how often do you have a chance to go camping?
Not a ton. Summers and early fall is the best time. So, you don't do it around all year round. But Katie would love to host you. So when you decide you want to come explore, come on over. But you're right. I am blessed to live in a place where it's easy to find places. Even if you go, to the ocean for a weekend and just walk the beach. There's just so many places in Oregon.
Well, before you offer to host Katie, you should know she has two enormous dogs.
Well, I wouldn't bring them with me.
Right? They're big babies. They'd miss you if you went.
I know. They're like bears.
They'll get along just fine with my German Shepherd. So she's a loving. She loves to play with other dogs. Anything that moves, really. So anything and anybody. So your dogs will be fine.
I have two Newfoundlands, and anytime there's like a black bear sighting in my neighborhood, I automatically get all the messages. Katie, did you let the dogs out again?
Stop taking your dog for a walk, Katie, without a leash.
That's funny. That's funny. They're gentle giants, though.
They are.
Great breed.
So when you're in our line of work, though, like speaking and marketing and, you're an author and all this stuff. So is detoxing, do you think, harder in our line of work, or does that just make it more necessary?
Oh, yes, it is harder, right? Just because, especially if you're a digital marketer and if you're really a social person and a social butterfly like myself, right? That I love always checking in with my friends and my network. And so kind of stepping away from digital conversations or connections could be hard. I don't worry about FOMO. That a lot of people, that's why they have hard time stepping away. FOMO is not my problem. I just want to make sure that I use the time that I have to catch up with my friends and my network. But the fun part about going out on the hike somewhere farther away from sort of civilization or camping is very little reception. So there's my excuse right there. No reception, people.
Have you
So
gotten really good at reading paper maps so that you know where you are?
I have a husband for that. So it's a built-in GPS.
Perfect.
you know, I'm
So
screwed. I have to hope for signage.
So I know you mentioned that you categorize your hobby. So what's the next category aside from detox?
Well, my other favorite one is experiencing, right? So detoxing is one, experiencing is the other, and that's where my hobby of travel falls under. It is this next thrill of adventure to go see a new country, to meet new people, to explore a culture. I'm very much, a digital citizen. I'm sorry, the global citizen of the world, right? I love to learn and connect with people all over the world. And so this gives me an opportunity. And so to satisfy my sort of global citizen cravings, I like to travel. And then experiences could be different, mean different things for different people. For me, besides seeing new sites, new places, and meeting new people, it's also things that I haven't done or wouldn't have an opportunity to do if I wouldn't be in that place with that culture. So things like eating scorpions and petting cheetahs and swimming with dolphins. Those to me are like a height of, I'm always ecstatic to be able to experience it while I'm traveling. So definitely been blessed there as well.
Just don't accidentally pet the scorpions.
That's right.
How many times have you eaten scorpions?
A couple, they're not, they don't have any flavor. It's like eating an unflavored chip. It's all it is. It's just crunch. At least the ones that I've tried and been served by my friends in Asia. But so it's not really the most amazing experience or the delicious one, but it was definitely something that was fascinating to experience.
Why do they keep eating them then, I wonder? Because if you're like, it's all right. Like, why would that be the thing you go back to?
It may be just something either you grow up with or something that culturally is, a thing to do. I don't know. I wasn't quite fond of.
Like Cheetos.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, that's right. That's how you need it. But like that, but petting cheetahs, for example, swimming with dolphins, that was definitely a lot of fun. Something that you don't think you're going to get experience in your lifetime, and when you do, you're like, whoa.
So where
Amazing.
does one go to pet a cheetah, and how does that come about?
Well, I did it. I did in Africa. We had an event there last year, so I was able to experience that. They had cheetah sanctuaries, so did the day trip to do that with a friend of mine. So fascinating animals and fascinating experience. Unfortunately, we weren't there at the time where they have puppies or little ones, and so we didn't get to play with cubs, but it's still just an amazing experience just to touch an animal and spend all the time with them close by like this. It's crazy. And then obviously I'm continuously getting lectures from my child whose favorite animal is cheetah, and she keeps telling me, Mama, how could you do it? And so I was prepared. I came back and I said, listen, there was a rule. You can't go in until you're age 18. So I couldn't have taken you there anyway. And I was thinking, thank you, folks at the sanctuary, for giving me all of the right information to be able to tell the story to my daughter, to show her pictures with an excuse to say, well, if you would have been 18.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, she keeps remembering that. So maybe that's one of the things I should promise her.
Her
when she
18th
grows
birthday.
up.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I think so. I would never forget. Do you have something like that, Katie? Like a promise that your mom was like, when you're this old, you can, and then were that old, and then she didn't. I asked my mom to go to space camp. I asked my mom to send me to space camp. I asked her every day for a year, and I gave up. And so when I was grown up, I asked her about it, and she's like, "You stopped asking."
I don't think I had anything like that.
Not that I'm bitter about it still.
I think anything I wanted to do, I did anyway, and then just got in trouble for it later.
That's a good approach as well. But space camp costs money, so I'm having a hard time coming up with it.
Well, now ladies, you're coming to my third, I guess third one, which is nurturing, right? To me, spending time nurturing, and that's where parenting falls. And not that parenting is a hobby, but for me, gardening, for example, as well as parenting, is something that allows you to sort of nurture something, to see it grow from very little to mature. My daughter is 11, so she's not necessarily in that stage, but it's fascinating, right?
Or T-7, as she says.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, it's fun, right? It's unpredictable. You get your hands dirty, whether it's you're working with vegetables, or whether you're making slime with your child. You learn things that you never expected, and then you see results of your efforts, and hopefully they're satisfying. Some years better than others for gardening. Sometimes stuff just doesn't want to grow. But it's I think nurturing is one of those things that, away from professional life, right? Is something that really helps us nurture our soul and helps us grow and learn. And so that's my mommy-daughter days are a lot of fun always. So again, not that parenting is a hobby, but that's
No, it's a
how
side hustle. We put it in
it's
the
a side
side hustle
Yeah, that's
category.
Right.
Yeah.
My
So-
gardening is also very predictable. I always have a different dead plant for every season of Punch Out that Kerry immediately points out. But I do, so what I have behind me, people won't be able to see when we release the podcast, is we purchase grow lights for the inside of our house because the lighting in our house is so poor that hopefully, and we got that after the plant died, so it's not like I had the grow light and then the plant died. So hopefully by season 6, Kerry, I will have a live nurtured plant.
I mean, we can only hope.
Katie, we can call that a cactus. Nobody would know any difference. There's multiple different types of cactuses out there. We'll call it a cactus.
It's like crumbling.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
it's
Kerry,
a little
leave it
round.
alone.
It is.
Leave it alone.
Oh, why do you still have it?
Stop nurturing it,
Because I'm
Katie.
lazy. Because I'm not a nurturing person.
So what other categories, Ekaterina, you mentioned? So we had nurturing, we had experience, and we had
And
detoxing.
detox.
Yeah, my other two, they're kind of close together, but learning and teaching, and I'm very much a learner. If you ever done Strength Finders, that's like always comes up as my number one out of the top 5 strengths that always pops up throughout my whole life. And so I read a lot, so I like to learn. So professional books is something, sort of professional development. I love to see what's going on in the industry and what I don't know. Self-improvement in any shape or form, whether your professional leadership and just any information around the world and biographies. And I feel like reading always teaches you things, whether you kind of realize it or not subconsciously, and helps you ideate also in your professional life. And then under learning, I also kind of always put networking, even though people look at networking as a requirement for professional and career development. I don't fully agree with that, because networking just, Kerry, how long have you and I known each other? You've just
7 years, I would say.
Yeah, it's just been such a lovely connection, and even though we don't directly work with each other, there's always that connection. So I think just the network that you build, professionally or not, is what also nurtures your soul, right? Besides,
I agree. I feel very warmly towards you.
somewhat lukewarm.
No, I don't talk to people I don't like. Katie will tell you.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't. So much less invite them to talk with me at length about their hobbies on Punch Out. I don't. So yeah.
So learning is one of those things. I feel like when we are out, even out of our professional environment, something that I can't stop doing. I like to hopefully think that I'm getting wiser as I'm consuming those tons and tons of books, and then hopefully meeting some really amazing, fascinating people, and just leaving behind just a little bit of impact, no matter what it is, right? And then the last one is teaching, and that is because when I feel like when we learn anything, right, whether professionally or personally, we have a bit of a sort of a requirement, right, to pass it along. And so for me, teaching encompasses a variety of things, giving back, writing, guest lecturing at the universities, speaking, and writing books, right? It's interesting. I'm 3 books in now, and and it's a really hard project to do. But every now and then you just, as somebody who likes writing, you have this desire, like, here's all this knowledge that I've accumulated. What if I put it in the framework that's hopefully easy to understand and put it out there? Maybe somebody will benefit from it. That's like the best feeling you can have. And so sort of teaching from that perspective is one of the things I do. And obviously writing books is always my passions project, right? It's not a part of my full-time job or anything. I always have to find extra time to do so. So I kind of put it in the hobby/side hustle
Yes.
bucket there.
I have the power of visual storytelling on my bookshelf back there.
Yay.
So what I've found is, and you can tell me if this has been your experience, but if I learn something to the extent where I can teach it to someone else, it sticks with me for much, much longer than, any kind of like drill memorization we used to do in school.
It is absolutely true. It helps you. But it also, what my favorite ones is when I guest lecture and I build connections with certain students and stay in touch with them, right? It's really amazing because I've seen some young folks grow from just graduating from college and now really 5-10 years later having a really solid career path. And they tap you every now and then, like, can we talk, can we ask what should I do here, what should I do there? It's really inspirational, I think, for not just for them, but for you to watch them go through that path and say, well, I'm learning from you as well. It's sort of I think it depends on how you approach it, but to me it's always a two-way street when it comes to learning. So that always, I thought, was one of my favorites. But then I want to mention one project that you might find interesting when it comes to sort of hobbies / or teaching / nurturing, combining both. So a couple years back, my daughter and I decided to do a project together. And the reasons were multiple, because one was it's a bonding experience, and another one, she was really curious because Mama published 3 books. What if we do one together? So we actually self-published a children's book. And so it was a lot of fun because one, really to connect on a different level with a child was a ton of fun. We've been telling stories about those 2 twin sisters who didn't look like one another, right? And we've been telling it for years. So we'd go camping and we'd make up stories. Twins. Yeah. And so we would make up all those stories. And one day my daughter goes, Mom, why don't we make a book out of it? And I thought that's a great idea, because to me, the biggest value of that was her teaching, her learning, right? The process of what does it take to take that project like that and from an idea to an actual execution. So she was with me the whole way, and she knew exactly what was required, how to do it. We've written the story together. So, and then timing was just fascinating because I was invited to speak at the women's conference, and they asked me to talk about sort of professional and personal balanced life, and I brought her with me. So she was part of the conversation we had with women, and she gave them her perspective of how it is to live with a mother who travels all the time and works a lot. And we talked about our project and just things we both learned. So it was interesting to get both perspectives. So it was a lot of fun for her, just that whole experience.
She's like, Mom made me market the book.
So you had mentioned that this hobby hit 2 of the 5 criteria that you look for when you're fulfilling yourself outside of work. Have you been able to find any hobbies that hit all 5 at once? Or when you seek out something to do, are you really mindful and say, am I getting one of the 5 things from doing this activity?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of them, right? Every time you go take an excursion somewhere, that's experiencing, learning, and connecting with people, right? And I mean, there's multiple that I think span the whole thing. I've never thought about one that would hit all 5. But that's a good question to ponder. I think it's all interconnected, because at the base of it's who you are as a person and what matters to you, and none of it should say separate. It should all be intertwined one way or another, right? So it's I think sometimes, especially for what we are talking about here, it's hard to to separate and put it in buckets. I think it all kind of has to jive and work together.
Here's what you do. Go hiking someplace with no cell signal. Bring some pencils and paper. Bring your kid. Write another book. Let's see. We got them all. And then
teach her something about nature. There you go,
Pet
Kerry.
a cheetah.
Yes, there you go.
And pet a cheetah.
It's like all the same trip. Yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
We got a handle.
It's funny because I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, yeah, you could do it with like being outside.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't.
Now I just have to go find the cheetah ladies in Oregon somewhere.
I'm not even joking. There is a tiger loose in Knoxville, Tennessee.
No,
I was just going to ask if you'd seen Tiger King and what your thoughts on it were.
They have like a tiger sanctuary or something. And I guess one like got out. And so it was seen once and now they can't find it again. So,
Oh, goodness.
yeah.
Well,
Lucky for me, it's a few hours away. So
maybe that's what that noise is outside.
somebody tweeted me and was like, "Did you have Escape Tiger on your 2020 bingo card?" No.
Well, somebody's going to hit a lot of those points at once. Surprise, experience, learning, and maybe it's a teaching moment at some point.
I think it's a big teaching moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that that's almost, I mean, you almost wish you hadn't seen it at all. Like they've
Yeah.
seen it once and now they can't find it again.
Thanks for letting all of us know. We, yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Yep. That's 2020 in a nutshell.
Oh my goodness. Escape tigers.
Well, that's one of the criteria, right? You want some experiences.
Mhm.
And
That is, yeah.
No. So any other books in the works? You mentioned that you've now got 3.
You know, not yet. It's an interesting cadence. Even though I love writing books, it's always, you know, you write one and then you just kind of take your time, ponder. Is there something else that you want to do? But I will tell you one that's been on my mind for years, ever since my child was born, is because she's very inquisitive. She asks a lot of questions, and some of the questions are super interesting or phrased in a way where you think about the same issue in a totally different way and from different angle. And so we've just been talking about all kinds of things. I mean, literally, I think she was born 90-year-old child. Like she's pretty wise. And so we talk about things like, you know, finances and family and relationships and I mean, even religion and others. And so we're having all those discussions. So I keep thinking, you know, there's tidbits of things that I've learned either from my parents or from others or something that really, truly worked for me. You know, is there a way to just put it on paper and say, here's what I learned about, you know, 50 different subjects and or you know, even 10 subjects that hopefully could be passed on and useful to somebody else. So not necessarily for the sake of, hey, I would like to sell a book, but for the sake of, hey, it's on paper and hopefully my daughter will get a kick out of it or maybe even value out of it. So I've been collecting some of those thoughts behind the scenes for a while now. So we'll see if it goes anywhere.
Gotta make the kid buy your book. I mean, really.
Here you go, child. $10.
Someday you'll thank me.
Someday you'll thank me.
I love to tell my kids that. You guys are broke. You don't have anything.
Kerry, I'm thinking I might plagiarize and borrow that as a title of the book. Someday you'll thank me. There you go.
I mean, it isn't true, but I mean, feel free.
So you know, actually, actually, ladies, here's what my experience was. The older I get, the smarter my mother gets. So, you know, there is still hope. You know, maybe now when mother doesn't know anything, maybe in another 20 years, mommy will get a bit wiser in the eyes of my child. We'll see. It's happened for me.
You know the kind of wisdom my mom had for me. My mom from Somerville, Massachusetts. Katie, you'll appreciate this. But she said there's 3 types of people. There's people who live for food. There's people who live for sex, and there's people who live for bowel movements.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's my mom's wisdom.
No, but see, here's the problem. I don't have children, so I'm pretty sure I've plateaued in my intelligence because no one will ever find me smarter.
I mean, you're smarter all the time, Katie. It depends who we're comparing you to.
Well, that's the thing. I don't have kids, so they'll never see me, you know, I'll never be smarter than I am now, I guess.
We just
Does
hang
it?
around kids. You look wicked
There
smart.
you go. There
Don't
you
say
go.
I'm
yours.
gonna find some random kids. We'll hang
Yeah.
around. It's not weird.
Not weird at all.
That's not strange, Katie, and especially in this environment. No, not strange at all.
I do. So I do have nieces and nephews, and what I do know about the very limited time I have spent with children is that they constantly ask why. So I would be interested to read a book around all of the random answers that parents give to the answer of the question why. Because sometimes you just sort of make things up to make them stop asking
yeah.
why.
Yes.
So I would read that book.
Yeah.
I try not to. My dad raised us very like he spoke to us like we were adults. I'm not saying like he swore or anything like that, but I mean he addressed us and answered questions as though
Good
we were
morning,
adults.
Madame Kerry.
So
What do
no,
you think of
maybe
the economic drop today?
you would never get some cutesy like, oh, it's raining because God is crying. Like my dad was not like that. He would explain like the water cycle and the whole thing.
And you're like,
So
oh, I'm bored. I don't want to know anymore.
yeah, basically that's one approach to take is what I'm saying. So just give it to them. Like one of my kids asked about sex and they were pretty young. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna tell you. Here you go. Like all the details, like the scientific. And he goes, "That's gross. I'm never doing that." I said, "Okay, great."
Right. You know
the
what?
talk.
It
Check.
works every time, Kerry.
Yep.
It works every time. I don't know why more parents don't do that.
To be honest, exactly.
It was the same. It's same with my child, and since then we didn't ask questions, and
Right.
we're yeah.
And you didn't lie. You told the truth. So
Hey.
that why circle, you can put it to an end quickly with just the truth.
There you go.
Well, there's the problem. I don't have enough practice.
Work at it, Katie, but avoid the
will.
sex question with other people's kids. That's way wrong. So
Yeah.
be
I
like,
should
ask
probably
the
just
parents.
avoid like randomly talking to kids.
There's a Saturday Night Live skit about how to talk to kids. It's like Duolingo for talking to kids.
Oh,
And yeah, I'll send you the link later.
Yeah.
I think you need it. So
I guess so.
But I want to say I really love what you guys are doing with the podcast, and I'll tell you why. It is because some of the most amazing, most talented people I worked with in my career were people who are well-rounded, people who had a lot of interests outside, a lot of hobbies, things, side hustles, things that gave them additional perspectives, separate perspectives, a different perspective on not only how to do their job, but how to work in a team or with folks from different cultures, right? And so I love to work, and I'm one of those workaholics, but I do think that there's a lot of value in taking your time and taking a bit of a breath and a pause, and doing other things, engaging in activities that will provide you with that sort of more well-rounded perspective. I've been reading a lot on online in various publications, and recently, I know HBR published a story that said no specific skill will get you ahead in the future, but the way of thinking will, right? And they talk about this approach of some of the best professionals are those that have different interests, that have a variety of perspectives. And so I think it's really important for us to not just speak of how can we be better in our careers, but how can we be a well-rounded person professionally and personally. So it's I think what you're doing in these conversations are really, really important for all of us to have.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's really the mission of, the podcast. Like for us, it's like an entertainment podcast, but you're absolutely right. It's, really the message that we're trying to build with people is that having a life outside of work makes you a better professional. So thank you so much for saying that and stating it so eloquently. So where can people find more about you if they want to find out about your professional career or the books you've written or just you in general?
My books are all on Amazon. They're all under my name, so you can just Google that, or just Google me, because I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and EkaterinaWalter.com is my website. But if you want to connect, social networks are definitely the best way to connect. So my business card is google.com.
It's a pretty good business card.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. This has been really fun.
No, thanks for having me,